Hey, it's Neil. It's June 10th, 2024. It's been a while, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the new Cloudflare worker, and that's on the main surfey.me page, our web portal, and that connects both the not that one, this one. That connects both the ConvertKit page, which is the default, with the app. And you can also see I've added a Launch Surfey app button. So on the main page, you'll be able to launch the app. Currently, it's not working because loading the configuration is trying to null protocol and no server. So it's just not working. And it could have been due to some of the caching stuff that I was messing with earlier, but I'm going to wait for Barto, you to look at this and tell me if that's the case. So there's two things that I want to talk about. Let's see if I can remember them because I'm jumping into this a little late. You can see by the clock down there. The first is, as I said, we mentioned, or we merge ConvertKit proxy either that. If there's an asset at ConvertKit, then we use it, but we also modify the HTML responses, and that's so we can do the fancy stuff, such as adding in this stuff here. So if we look, you'd see in the JavaScript console, it's logging a couple of things. And if we look at the source to this, you'll see it's added some things. So in the header, we're now loading up MVP.js, which is a little JavaScript library I built for quickly prototyping, and it works for some other things as well. And with MVP.js, what we can do is I also add a footer, and that's where you saw the footer message show up. And then it sets this interval because otherwise there's some JavaScript in ConvertKit that builds some of the stuff out, and so it's not there by default. And without having to, I don't want to reverse engineer ConvertKit's code and CSS classes, and thankfully MVP.js allows me to do this pretty easily. What I do is there's a couple of fun little functions in here that I worked hard on, but first off, if the button already exists, then we're just out. If it doesn't exist, and it might get removed, which is why this is on an interval, then what I do is use delve and hunt and current to find the div that those links exist in, and so that's these here, this container. And then having found that, then I use the LA function to also add in an anchor tag with these attributes. And you'll notice I copy the class from the other posts anchor tag. So this guy, which causes it to have the same CSS. Since we're on the posts page, it also has an underline, which is kind of a bug. If you go on the links page, you won't see that because it's copying from posts, which doesn't have an underline at that point. Yeah, that's a minor thing. I thought about fixing it, and I thought, I think it's fine with the underline. No one's going to notice, and eventually we'll do something fancier with this page. So that's the MVP JavaScript library at work. Just to give you guys a few examples. Hunt is used to find something by text, actual text, not HTML. So if I say hunt posts, it finds all the elements that contain that, and you can see my script tag also contains posts, but it finds the first and it gives me a list back. And so then I take that with delve. So if I just do this, you see I got an array of 2. Delve will take something and find stuff within that, so properties or subscripts. So you can use delve on properties, on hash maps, on arrays, and so it just delves into something and grabs it. And I've been using that kind of across the board, and if it can't find it, it'll return a default, which the default is just null. So if we were to say delve 5, it just comes back with null. Versus some things, when you say 5, it might come back with undefined or blow up if it's a property. And it allows you to do that in sequence. So if we wanted to say that didn't return, well, it returns a span, right? We'll say we wanted to get the class out of that. We could do that. But if the 5th member didn't exist, it would still return null. So that's kind of what you can use delve for. delve and hunt, and what's the other one? Current. So current unwinds upwards. So if we want to find the next div above this particular thing, so we've got, and let's see, we've got a span, and we want to find the div that contains this span. We could say current div and then pass in that span, and it would get that, and that allows us to find the parent container, then add the stuff in. It's bloody magic. The other thing on the back end, let's look at the Cloudflare worker again. If the asset is not at ConvertKit, then we load it from our Google Cloud Storage bucket, public bucket. And this is where I had it wrong earlier. Forgive me, Bartow. I was just loading up index.html for every path, which is not correct. What I wanted to do was, if that path, the URL, ends with an extension, so dot something, 2 to 5 characters, then we load that file from the Google Cloud Storage bucket. Otherwise, we load index.html. And that allows us to use paths that are just like slash, right? The root path is just slash, and we want it to actually load the index.html document, which is where the Flutter app is. And on top of that, the other thing that we added is I removed the cache if it's a text document. And so you can see this work. If you do curl and not go.surfey. It's late. Give me a break, all right? If we do that, you'll see that the expires and cache control headers have been removed. This is only on text documents, so if you look at fav.ico, for that one, you'll see the cache is retained. And that's so that we want to cache assets like images and stuff and not constantly be blowing up the server and slowing down the user computer. But HTML and JavaScript, both text types, we want to reload if the user hits them and not cache those in the browser so that we can make updates to those applications. So you're welcome, Bartow. And then I also just added this little thing to remove the Goog headers, because they don't really serve any purpose for publishing the website on top of Google Cloud Storage, so we remove those things. And that's that. And now, based on that, we can have the two things melted together. Ciao.